Hey, is it your birthday? If so, happy birthday. If not, it's going to feel like it in just a second because I got a present for you. And that present is a scale exercise that I'm almost sure you've never seen before. Why? You're going to find out right now. I've been thinking about this. Usually, people think practicing scales is a dull thing. Practicing music is a fun thing. But practicing music is scales mostly, right? How does this work? Why is it like this? I think that as clarinet players, we get very used to practicing scales in a way that goes from root to root. For example, that's great. That's a great way to learn the scale. Oftentimes, we also go from the root to the highest note in the scale, and back down to the lowest note in the scale, and back up to the root. That would sound like something like this. Berryman is sort of built like that. The first one was glissé, that was Berryman. These are a great way to learn the scales on the clarinet. Don't get me wrong. But what if we did something different? One of the things that I wish is that these scales could be played more musically, more easily. They certainly can be played musically without too much trouble. It just takes a lot of effort to remember that this is part of music. I'm going to show you this scale exercise that has a little bit of implied harmonic motion to it. And this implied harmonic motion makes it much easier to practice the scales in a musical way. Check it out. So that was just a little bit of it. But you get the idea. These are actually not entire scales. They are 5 notes of each scale. And then it does something interesting. We start the first one from the root. We play it 4 times. Then we use that same note as the starting note, and we play the scale as if that's the leading tone. That's the 7th note of the scale. So I played F to C, F major. I'm now going to play F to B, but in F sharp major. This creates a way that we're practicing our F sharp major scale. Just 5 notes of it, but not starting on the root. But good news, it turns around so that F sharp becomes the root. Then we do that whole pattern on F sharp. It sounds like this. Then we'll be using that F sharp to be the first note of a 5-note G major scale. And then it turns around on itself to become G major. And it just goes up by half step like this. And it has a nice way of having a way that the harmony changes and brings us to the next thing. And that is a really, really wonderful way to practice scales. You might be asking, yo man, where'd this come from? Well, let me tell you. I sat and I thought, just for a minute, about our friends in the woodwind family. We've got the flute. Now the flute, have you ever noticed they have better technique than us? Almost always. I notice this all the time when I'm sitting on juries for people coming in, and the flute players all play pretty great technique all the time. That's just a part of what they do. The oboes, they're working on reeds a lot. We'll leave it there. Bassoons, they have, I don't know if you've ever checked it out, they've got a lot of places to put their thumbs. It is much more difficult to play wildly technical things on the bassoon. And then comes the non-orchestral member of our family, the saxophone. And again, they have some technique right there. A lot of it does come from a jazz tradition. When you hear jazz saxophone players play, they can play all over the instrument, all sorts of different patterns. It's just what they do. I don't know if you know, I studied flute and saxophone quite a bit. And this exercise is straight from the tradition of the flute. And this is a foundational exercise that they do. And I want you to know that this isn't some sort of crazy idea. This is just me writing this exercise out. Oh, and by the way, click the link in the description. I wrote this whole thing out because it is complicated, right? This is complicated to talk about. But this gives you a chance to see it and be able to learn it that way. Keep in mind that the idea of this is not to play it necessarily straight through. You're going to play parts of it and practice those parts and practice those parts. This can be part of your daily routine for quite a while until you have it in all the registers all the time. And it gives a great way to go through the registers to kind of just like cycle up through the instrument in a way that gives us a simplified kind of version of these scales that then allow us to, by the time you've practiced all the way up and down your instrument in all the different registers, you've actually practiced all the different fingering patterns, but in a way that's musical. And that's something that is missing from our scales on the clarinet. But again, I'm not saying that Berman, Closet, Langinus, Hamlin, Stevenard didn't know what they were doing. They absolutely did. But the way that the French flute tradition works on scales, I'm just going to say it, it's a little bit better. And I'm giving you that little bit better right now. So if it's your birthday, happy birthday. If it's not your birthday, this is an early birthday present, because this is a really, really great exercise. I also want you to know I've built a new website, clarinetninja.com. All of the links to all my stuff, including a free, I said it, free sort of foundational course for those people just getting going or coming back to the clarinet, or just kind of want to review a little bit about what foundational information might be helpful to you. It's there. It's free. Check it out. I'm going to be continually adding lots more stuff to this website. There's also a membership program. You get to study clarinet with me. How great is that? Go check that out. That link is in the description as well. So thanks for being here, and I will see you next time. Get your scales together. Get this scale pattern happening. It's going to really reinforce a lot of the work you've already done. It's going to make it stronger. It's going to make it better, and you're going to have a lot of fun.